Thank you for joining us. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm your host, Daniel Davis. Joining us here on the program today is the founder of Rebirthing Breathwork. Our guest today is Leonard Orr, and we're going to be talking about a really interesting topic called the unconscious death urge. And I'd like to welcome to the Beyond 50 radio program today our guest, Mr. Leonard Orr. Leonard, thank you for joining us here on the program today.
Good morning.
Now, tell us what this unconscious death urge is.
Well, it's any anti-life thought. And our anti-life thoughts get organized into a structure of thought which we can call a psychic entity. And to make matters more complicated, the death urge has a life urge.
The death urge has a life urge?
Yeah, and it has intelligence and an urge to survive, and actually it's been very successful outsmarting most people. As you know, death is very popular.
Now, how do a lot of people experience this urge with death that you're talking about here?
They experience it as self-sabotaging behavior, as suicidal tendencies. I don't know if you've checked the news recently, but suicide increased among older people, middle-aged people. It increased 50% in 2007, and it increased 75% in 2008, and it's still going up.
Now, is this something that's increasing in today's world?
Yeah, according to the news, suicide among middle-aged men, especially, is increasing more dramatically than any time in history.
Now, what do you think that's all about?
Well, one of the fundamental components of the death urge is negative energy or just excess energy that we collect as a result of participating in society. I call it emotional energy pollution. And it can also be called stress and tension. And so when the stress and tension level that we accumulate in our mind-body complex gets extreme, we become so miserable that we don't want to live anymore. And of course, in the news article, they pointed out that economic conditions have pushed the stress levels through the roof.
It certainly seems that way, doesn't it?
Well, 75% increase in suicide among mature, middle-aged men is pretty extreme.
Now, in the kind of work you do, there must be quite a cultural history behind this particular urge. How is it basically experienced in other cultures?
How is it, what?
How is the death urge experienced in other cultures?
Well, actually, in the article, it explained that in China and other places, actually, like one Chinese factory raised salaries in order to reduce the suicide rate. And so Sigmund Freud, coined the word the unconscious death urge or the unconscious death drive. And I don't think there is any other literature that I've found in the East or the West that as clearly describes it as we have in the writings of Freud. And unfortunately, after Freud died, the whole idea of the unconscious death urge went back into the unconscious of the psychoanalytic tradition.
Interesting.
We have to reconstruct it and learn how to deal with it consciously. And the only sustainable way that I know of to deal with it consciously, in addition to working with the mind directly, is basic practices of spiritual purification with the elements, with earth, air, water, and fire.
Mm-hmm. Now, so this is something that if a person has, which it sounds like many people do, that it actually can be changed or healed, as you say?
That's right, yeah. I wrote a book called Healing the Death Urge, and my most popular book worldwide is called Breaking the Death Habit. And so rebirthing or conscious energy breathing, the movement that I started in 1974 and has spread all over the world, definitely helps, because breathing is the basic vehicle of relaxation, and it enables us to deal with stress very efficiently. However, I discovered in 1981 that having a conscious relationship with fire is the most efficient way of dealing with the death urge directly.
Fire, you said?
Yeah, just sitting in front of a fireplace or with a campfire.
Interesting. Why is that?
Well, I don't know. You know that when you're stressed out and you go home and you take a shower, you feel better. That's water purification. And the idea of spiritual purification is a practice or technique that cleans our energy body. Taking a shower cleans your aura or your energy body, and that's a more important reason for bathing than just for sweat or for dirt. And fire is the polar opposite of water, and fire cleans different aspects of the energy body. And there's something about just sitting with an open fire that seems to destroy the death urge and extreme negative emotions.
So if somebody doesn't bathe regularly, then it sounds to me like they're piling on a lot of stress, which can increase the urge of death?
That's right. It just keeps accumulating. One of the things that I am known for, I started studying the idea of physical immortality in the early 60s. I unraveled the death urge, which I learned from my parents in 67. But I didn't know anybody in the Western world who, well, in studying the idea of physical immortality, the literature about it, there wasn't much in the 60s, but I noticed that all the authors of the books about physical immortality died before they were 100. And so I decided not to trust anybody who thought about physical immortality unless they were at least 300. As a basic minimum, and so I went to India in 1977 looking for immortals who were over 300, and since that time I've met 8 of them. Some of them that are over 2,000, and the first thing that I noticed about them is that they bathe twice a day. So bathing is really essential, and we are lucky to be in a civilization that has indoor plumbing and warm water. The immortal yogis that I met didn't have indoor plumbing and warm water. And so indoor plumbing and warm water has created a context in which the idea of physical immortality can be practically realized by the masses, but it doesn't work at all unless we use it.
Interesting. I think it's fascinating to think that just taking 2 showers or bathing twice a day can actually make you feel better, it sounds like, besides cleaner.
Yes, and of course we have the controversy between the Baptists and the Presbyterians between sprinkling and total immersion. And total immersion, the Baptists evidently are right, because when you are soaking in a warm bathtub, all of your chakras, the energy wheels of the body, are constantly turning through the water. So total immersion is more effective than sprinkling. But we know that showers work, and so it depends upon our lifestyle, and it depends upon the concentration of our contacts with other people in our job and in conjunction with our lifestyle as to how much spiritual purification we need in order to keep our energy body clean and balanced.
That's fascinating. Now, what are the benefits? It sounds to me like as you do this that sort of, I guess, not entirely eliminating the death urge, but not having it as strong must have some profound benefits. Could you describe what some of those are?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when we get too much emotional energy pollution, we just feel miserable and we don't have any energy. And when our energy is clean and balanced, then we just love being productive. Working and being productive becomes the most joyful thing in our lives. We have mixed relationship to work in our culture. Actually, if you study the death statistic, most people die on Monday, so they don't have to go to work. And so people have to learn how to create work that they love and love their work. And when we have a good relationship with our work and our energy is high, then work is the most pleasurable thing I can think of, whether it be manual labor or giving lectures or being on radio talk shows.
Mm-hmm. That's certainly true. Doing what you love is a big difference on whether or not you want to be around or whether or not you just kind of want to check out. I know so many Americans, it seems, especially this day and age when you take a look at this economy that we're in, are in work that sort of provides meaning in the sense that it provides a lifestyle to them, but on the other hand, they find themselves becoming strapped and getting up every day to go to that particular job may not be as enjoyable as maybe it once was. And it seems like a couple of showers a day might be able to at least help you alleviate the way that you feel about the situation that you're in.
Yeah, after a while we become sensitive to our own energy body, and we know that, we can feel it when we're losing it, and it's not absolutely essential to limit ourselves to 2 baths a day. We can take as many as we need, and some people actually do take more, but everybody has to get their own rhythm going according to their own goals.
Mm-hmm. Now, what is it like when other people have an unconscious death urge to be around?
Well, they become grouchy. To deal with.
Interesting. Now, what are some other ways that a person who may have an unconscious death urge be able to heal this?
Say that again?
I said, how can people who have the unconscious death urge, what are some other ways they can heal this?
Well, to deal with it directly involves the whole idea of psychoanalysis or therapy, and whether we do it with a professional or do it with a family member or friend, it's very important to talk about our feelings and our self-sabotaging feelings and behavior. If, in fact, our family members are not pointing it out to us all the time, we need to be able to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And so having just the words, the unconscious death urge in our vocabulary, and the words physical immortality in our vocabulary makes it a lot easier to talk about it and to identify it when we're feeling it.
Mm. Now, Leonard, is there a website people can find out more about the work that you do?
Yes, rebirthingbreathwork.com. Very long.
Rebirthingbreathwork.com. And talk about just briefly what Rebirthing Breathwork is.
Well, it's a simple connected breathing rhythm that activates our divine energy source and fills the mind and body with divine energy in a way that during the first 10 sessions is very dramatic and powerful. And a session, a rebirthing breathwork session, is the time of it is not determined by the breath worker or by the breather. It's determined by our life energy itself. And what happens in a session, which usually takes 1 to 2 hours, is that the divine energy starts to move in the body, and it gets stronger and stronger, and then it peaks, and then it recedes naturally. And so that's a natural purification cycle. It's very magical, it's very healing, and it's quite mystical. People have all kinds of physiological as well as emotional and spiritual experiences during a session.
That's fascinating, and this can also be a way that a person can help cleanse their unconscious death urge?
Yes, it has a tendency to dissolve all the stress and tension that we're feeling at that particular point in our lives. And when people are learning it, they usually have a session about a week apart. And the relaxation and the high that people feel usually lasts a week, and then they have another session and they dissolve another layer of stress and tension that we've accumulated. And then when I created it and started working with it, I didn't know how many sessions people needed. And as a result of teaching it to millions of people, I now know that most people, as a result of 10 sessions, can learn the breathing rhythm and be able to do it on their own without a facilitator. And so that's kind of the goal of the initial 10 sessions. One of the goals is to get people to the point where they can have this ability of breathing energy as well as air, and then they can use it as often as they like.
Fascinating work. And again, your website is rebirthingbreathwork.com?
Correct.
Well, Leonard Orr, thank you for joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program. Fascinating subject.
Great. Thanks for having me.
You bet. We also encourage you listeners out there, be sure to visit us at our website at beyond50radio.com. Sign up for our free weekly e-newsletter as well. I'm Daniel Davis. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program, and remember, live your day past halfway.